Most contractors are stuck in a never-ending loop of estimating, chasing, and then hoping. And they don't even realize that their sales process is the problem. The scale framework changes all of that. I'm about to show you how to build a sales machine that scales your sales. In this video, I'll walk you through the 5-part scale system that's helped general contractors close more jobs without getting buried in admin, follow-ups, or tire kickers. All right, so let's figure out what is this big scale framework that's going to help you boost your sales, get rid of all that admin stuff. First thing we're going to be talking about is the actual sales process. What are the steps to a high converting, high level sales process? Then we're going to be going over CRM, which CRM, how to use it, how does it help, how to set it up. The next step is automation. So consistency, speed. How can we automate these processes so that there's less work for you? The potential client feels like they're just part of the system, moving through, and is getting an amazing experience. Then I'm going to be sharing with you next steps as far as leverage and how to engage, with straightforward closing and branding and data. And those sections are going to be an additional next step after this video. So we're going through the first 3 today. Those are the big ones that you're going to want to get into place so that you can scale your contracting business, finally get that big success that you're looking for. So if you don't have a clear path to follow with your client, how are you ever going to get to the end zone, to the X marks the spot, gold, and actually get the client signed? So you need a straightforward path for the client that's seamless and easy. And this is the one that I found to be the most effective. Depending on your business, you may want to switch things up, but this will give you a good idea of what sort of path you want in place. And I'm going to be going through the big steps and sort of explain them a bit. What you're going to need inside your business is some sort of an SOP document. So you should have a standard operating procedure for these. Start with the big steps, put a little description on it, and you'll kind of build it out over time. So don't get hung up on, I need to get SOP in right away. You definitely want to have one, but at first, just figure out what are the big steps that need to get followed every time to help bring that client to the touchdown, to the end zone. So first thing is qualifying call. They're going to reach out to you. Maybe they call your business. Maybe they fill out the form on your website. However a lead comes in, referral, whatever it may be, you or your admin, your receptionist, whoever it is going to call them, your salesperson. Hey, Ms. Smith, thanks for contacting us. Can you tell us a bit about your project, what you want to do, all these kind of things. So you're going to have all these different qualifying questions because you want to know, is it going to be a client? Can you actually provide services? Are they looking for what you're able to produce? Is their budget at least somewhat in line? All these different things. Are they in a location that you service? All this stuff. So qualifying questions, considering that it's a good client and good potential, you're then going to book a discovery consultation. Typically, the qualifying call can be done by an admin person, just someone friendly and able to take a call. The discovery consultation will be done either with yourself if you're still the primary salesperson, or if you've got an actual salesperson on your team, it would be handed off to them. But they're going to book a discovery consultation call. This could be an in-home visit as well, depending on the situation, your client, how your company operates. But this is going to be like kind of a more of a sit-down meeting and really understanding what they want, what they're looking for, and providing really good feedback on their project and what you can have. In that discovery consultation, you're going to provide a ballpark budget. So no matter what the project is, you should at least be able to get some sort of a ballpark figure to be within maybe 15% of what the final project might be, 15 to 20%. At this point, you want to know, and the client wants to know, is this project, this, home or whatever, is it a $800,000 project, or is this like a $2 million project, right? Like, what's the scope of budget that this client's going to need? Is it feasible? Because you don't want to continue with the conversation or start estimating on a set of plans or ideas that they have if it's nowhere near their budget. So that's the purpose of the discovery consultation. The ballpark budget is to really get a good feel for who they are and what they want, and if it's in line with reality. From there, after you've done a ballpark budget, you may do more of like a rough budget, something a little bit more like built out, but you're not going to spend hours estimating to specific plans and going through selections and all that stuff, tendering out bids and things like that. You should then be able to move them into a pre-con package offer. And the reason I say pre-con package and not pre-con service agreement is signing the actual document is not what you're selling here. Yes, that is like the next step to get into the pre-construction stage, but you need to offer them a package. So what are they going to get? They're going to get scheduling. They're going to get design services, selections, your professional input. Maybe you may need geotechnical or engineering or whatever, right? So budgeting, all of this stuff you're going to kind of formulate into a package so that they can see the value that you bring to the table, and you're not just trying to sell them on some sort of agreement. You're actually trying to get them into the pre-construction phase so that they can move forward. And little quick tip here on the pre-con package offer is you always want to make sure that they know that this is not a construction contract. This is just to get all the planning, design, budgeting, feasibility done so that then they're in a good position to then take that information and be able to move into the construction phase. If they want to go a different builder or they decide not to move forward with the project, no problem. They can, cancel the services at any time. This way you're getting paid though, and it's not, a rush. You're trying to like sell them on a construction project. It's a much smaller risk. If you want our template, like a guide to get a PCSA agreement or like a high converting PCSA agreement, check out the links in the description below. We've got a special guide free for builders to utilize to get the right information in your pre-construction package offer. So very important part of this winning sales path. From there, once you're in the pre-construction package, then you move into rough budgeting and design review. Now, this step could be before the pre-construction package offer. I would say you still want to offer it and let them know, at least give them a heads up that that would be the next step. But then you can provide the rough budgeting and a bit of design review for free, just to provide some goodwill and to get a little bit of a leg up on your competition who may or may not be doing this. So that's, again, you're going to have to figure this out as far as what's most effective as the ordering, but generally speaking, this is the best way I've found to do it. Once they're in that pre-construction agreement, it's signed and moved into the pre-construction process, then you can get into final budgeting, design proposals. Sky's the limit. Go through that pre-construction, make sure everything is beautifully designed, and then by the time they've worked with you, you've got the permits, you've got the schedules, you got the budgets, all this stuff's in place. They've worked with you for multiple months. Now there's no surprises to them. They know everything's been worked out. They know you, they know your team, they know the budget. To get them to sign a construction agreement to move forward with the project is a very small hurdle. And this is where, if you're having trouble closing or you're finding that people reach out to you and then you refer them to a designer and then they talk with their architect and all this stuff, and then you end up doing a bunch of estimating, and then at the end of the day they say, oh, we're going to go with another builder, or we've decided to do something different, or we're going to wait, or whatever. It's because you don't have this process in place. This is like how you work with the client so that you're bringing the ball forward when you need to get the touchdown at the end, move into the construction contract. You're already on the 1 yard line, ready to go. No issues, no problems. Making sense so far? All right. So now that you know what the sales process looks like for your company that you need to get in place, those are the big steps. We're going to talk about the CRM organization. So you need some sort of client relationship management software, and I'm not talking about your field software. So if you're using project management type softwares, some of them have like a lead kind of type, and you can put new leads in and then you can do the estimates and all that stuff. So I understand that. That's not what I'm talking about. You need something before all of that happens. You need that like new lead that comes in, the communication with them, automated emails, automations behind it, sales pipelines, and some sophistication to it. It's not that it needs to be complicated, but there's a whole side of the sales and marketing and lead generation part of a business that the project management software is not designed for and does not do well. And I've seen this time and time again. And this is often a missing link, a missing piece, automated, systemized construction business with a high performing sales engine, sales machine, which is what we're building here. So this is the parts of the CRM system that you're going to need. Picking the right CRM. So you may be asking yourself, which CRM should I use? There's a lot out there. What even is the right ones? I am, shameless promotion here. We have our own rapid lead CRM software that we've developed specifically for builders. It's got everything built out, automations, pipelines, marketing materials, everything is there. It's plug and play. You customize it and you run with it. If you want to check it out, there's links in the description again to go check it out. It's rapidleadcrm.com. You can go book a demo and check out the software. This is a screenshot of just like the dashboard. This software has everything I'm going to mention, but these are the big components that no matter what software you use for a CRM, this is what you need it to be able to do. So contacts and client info, it should have all the contact info for clients, as well as any like notes, communications, emails. The Rapid Lead CRM connects with your email. So any emails from that client get put into the system. Any social media messages with that client get put into the system. You know, on certain, not every social platform, but like the main ones like Facebook, Instagram, things like that. So one-stop shop for your client communications. You don't have to go hunting around for emails or messages or this or that. It should have pipelines. So you're going to have your main sales pipeline, and you're going to have your clients move from one stage to the next. This is really important to make sure nobody gets stalled out. I'm sure you've had it happen where you get busy season and it's like, oh, I forgot to follow up with this client, and you're just letting, just bleeding sales essentially. And then things start to slow up later in the year or into winter. And it's like, oh, I should have followed up with these people, earlier or whatever, right? So sales pipelines mitigate all of that. Thing with the pipelines too is it gives you like a visual where like what is coming down the pipeline, right? Like if you're crammed with projects, you should have a schedule for all your projects to kind of know that. But if you've just got like a ton of leads and they're all coming through, you can expect, hey, 3, 6 months out, we're going to be slammed, right? So we really need to prioritize these leads and figure out where they fit in our production schedule, things like that, right? On the inverse, if it's like, wow, our pipeline's looking really bare, we really need to hit the phones and the marketing channels to bring in, we're going to be out of work in 6 months or 3 months or whatever, right? So pipeline super important. Communication, as I mentioned, calendars as well. You should have all your booking calendars tied into your CRM as well as links. So if you've ever used like Calendly is a good free one. The Rapid Lead CRM has booking links. So you can create multiple different links for clients, for networking, for your internal team. People can just book a time in your schedule, and you can set your availability, which days, which times do you want them to book into, and all that stuff. But it saves you so much time, and it'll just automatically kind of link your calendar with all the lead gen. If you're having like appointments with potential clients or discovery calls, all those sort of things, right in the CRM software. Automations are huge, and this is the real big differentiator between CRM platforms. A lot of them do the rest of the earlier stuff that I mentioned fairly well, like contact info, pipelines, communication, calendar stuff. That's pretty basic, easy stuff. Most all CRMs have that. The automations is what really differentiates the good from the mediocre. And that's what we've really defined. If you know us, we're all about systems, processes, automations. We want to make it as simple as possible, have things run. There's so much good like ability with software nowadays that having like automated communications go out when people book a call, or reminders, notifications, you move someone down the pipeline, it should automatically be generating stuff on the back end. So there's sky's the limit with this kind of stuff. So automations are huge, but this software with the sales process, like right there, is just going to skyrocket your sales machine and make your life so much easier. This gives you the professional touch as well. So even if you're like, I don't know if I want to bite off all of this right now and get this all set up, reach out to us. We'll set it up for you. That's not an issue. So no excuse there. But that said, it just makes so much sense to get this in place, and it'll make your life so much easier. Integrations as well. So API, which is just like it'll integrate pretty much with any other software that has open API. It could be with your QuickBooks, with your project management software. Not all project management software is built the same. So if you have a good one and it's got open API, it'll link up with your CRM, which hopefully it will. But integrations are a big thing too, because you want all the information from your CRM to then get moved into your project management software or your accounting software seamlessly. And that's another great thing with automations and the pipelines. Once they're set up properly, it's like you just move a card to another stage, and like boom, all the information goes to whoever it needs to go to the other softwares, everything. It is a beautiful thing when it's set up properly. So if you want help with that, definitely reach out. And the final thing I'm going to mention is the reports. So how are you doing? What is your closing ratios? Where are people dropping off in your pipeline? As you can see from the screen here, every stage of the pipeline has the drop off. So what percentage of people are dropping off at certain stages, and it'll alert you to like, how are we doing? Are we doing better or worse than we were before? which stage do we need to focus on, or where can we improve things? Are people not showing up for calls? Are we having a hiccup in our sales process where that PCSA agreement seems to be a big hurdle? Why is that, right? So you can go in and fix the small things in your machine by knowing what's wrong with them, right? If you're driving down the road and your engine starts smoking and stuff's going everywhere, you pull over. But if you don't know what's wrong with it, you can't fix it, right? And neither can the mechanic. Okay, so he's still with me here. Kudos to you to taking the time to actually get all this stuff set up. And now the fun stuff, automation advantage. Derek, what kind of automations do I need? How do I set automation? Sounds confusing. Don't worry, it is not. I'm going to be laying it out for you right here, which automations to get into place and how to set them up. So before I show you exactly which automations, I just want to talk about a concept called speed to lead. If you haven't heard about this before, it's simply the amount of time it takes you to contact that lead. Nowadays, people's attention spans are short. They've got the world at their fingertips. They call you. If you don't respond, they're going to reach out to the next contractor, whoever gets back to them first. And I don't know the exact stats, but it's something staggering. Like I believe like the first company to connect with the lead, whoever is calling in, has something like a 50% advantage and is 50% more likely to close that sale with that client than the other businesses that don't connect with them. So being that first person, that Johnny on the spot, right there is so pivotally important to ensuring that you are landing clients and that you're the first one to talk to them so you can get them into that sales process that we mentioned. The way to do this, the automation that you want to have in place is a call text back. So if someone calls you, you miss their call, it'll send them a text. Hey, apologies, we missed your call. Please text us, whatever, right? You can ask them to text you, or you can just say someone will reach out to you in the next, whatever it may be, within the next hour, 2 hours, or within business time or whatever. But having that call text back, because sometimes people will call and they may not answer again as well. Like if you call them back 5 minutes later, so send them a text because then they can probably text back to you, and it just opens up that communication really, really quick. And you can also text them and just say, hey, sorry, busy at the moment. I'll call you back in an hour or whatever, right? So make sure you're texting back. It can be automated, or at the very least, just send them a text yourself. Let them know that you'll call them back shortly. Email response and nurture. So same thing. If someone sends you an email or they fill out the form on your website, there should be an automated email that goes out to them, thanking them for filling out the application, letting them know the next steps. Maybe even have like some links to your social media or your website, some information. If you can provide some really good information for them or like a next step that they can take with the email, even better. And then get them in a nurture sequence. So a nurture sequence is just an automated campaign. Send them an email, probably like an instant email on the first day. Next day, you could send them something that's interesting, like a blog article or 5 things to think about while you're designing your project. And then they essentially go into a nurture campaign, maybe send out an email every week over 4 8 week period, whatever it may be. This is something you can delegate as well. So if you're already busy with this whole sales process and everything that's going on, and you got your sites to manage, your people to manage, whatever it may be, you once you have this system in place and you've got the software set up, it just makes it so much easier to delegate this to someone. You've got your standard questions, your forms, there's automations, and it's very easy to delegate this to somebody else on your team. Now, lead relationship info. All of the information, as I mentioned, can really be automated as well. People fill in the form on your website, it goes to your CRM. From there, it goes into the pipeline. It can go to your project management software. So any kind of information about the client can easily be automated to go wherever you need to. Another thing to automate is the scheduling. So that scheduling link that I mentioned is another great automation. They can book a time in your calendar. It's synced with your calendar. It excludes times when you don't want to have calls. And from there, they will get automated emails and notifications to make sure that they actually remember the call. It's really annoying, as you know, if you've scheduled a call with someone and they don't show up for it. So having this automation in place so that they get that email, hey, as a reminder, tomorrow we have our call at 4 p.m. Then an hour before the call, they get a text message. Hey, quick reminder, we're meeting at whatever location or on Zoom or whatever it may be, right? So get that scheduling automated. CRM management, went over that. There's so many automations that are available now that you probably don't even realize that can be done with CRM software that just take care of so much of that background admin work or make that admin work just very easy to manage because a lot of it can be automated. All right, so you're really getting a solid masterclass in sales today and how to set up your sales system. I'm all about systems. Don't do hard work over and over again. Do the hard work once and get paid for it forever. And that's what you're doing with these systems and these processes. Is you're setting up your business to be successful for the future and to help get yourself out of this day to day that can just stress everybody out. So I'm going to be going over here the new lead process. The first thing is you're going to have an initial call. As I mentioned, that most likely will be your admin person. They're going to ask the qualifying questions. From there, they're going to add them to your CRM. So the information is then going to go into your CRM. Their answers to those questions, as well as any information about the project or what have you. From there, that admin person is going to schedule a meeting or refer it out. So what they're going to do is either schedule a meeting, or they could send a link, or they could say that someone else is going to, reach out to them, which would be yourself or the salesperson. After that, they're going to get the brochure. So they'll get sent out like a little marketing brochure that'll have more information about your company, about the design process, the pre-construction services, pre-construction phases of the project, whatever it may be, but you're always sending them really relevant, high value information. This whole process, very seamless. They get it on the phone. They call you or they send you an email. It's like someone gets on the phone with them right away, speak to the lead, asking them qualifying questions, very professional. It then gets handed off to salesperson or yourself if you're the main, sales driver of your business. They get information and then they get auto reminders for the scheduling, and everything is just really dialed in. It's a beautiful process, and it just sets that bar with the client that, wow, this is a company that has their shit together, and I want to do business with them because of how organized and how seamless everything is. That's the experience that we're going for, and that's what's going to make that sales process so much easier. And when you get into that final close, whatever it may be, the PCSA or the construction contract, it's just going to make it flow that much easier. Going through a lot here, and this is the final section. So if you want to go pro with your business, leveled up to pro performance, go from that Prius to the Ferrari, this is what you're going to want to know about. And this is like that next step, that kind of like icing on the cake to this whole process, and really good information to be able to look at, but also know. So your pipeline conversion ratios, this is something that you should be looking at least every quarter and really dive into if things are off. And you always want to be kind of bookmarking what are your conversion ratios at certain times to see if you're improving, if things are shifting, and how things are changing. The beautiful thing about a CRM too is the longer you use it, the bigger track record and information you have to make really data-driven decisions. A lot of times you can go astray and you can feel like you're in kind of this Groundhog Day where everything always kind of feels the same and you think like things are improving, but it never really happens and you're not sure why. It's probably because you're just making decisions based on how you feel or how you think everything should pan out. But when you actually look at the hard numbers, you will realize that, hey, my closing ratio isn't actually as good as I thought, or hey, I have a lot of people dropping off at this point. So something really important to figure out with closing rates. If you can improve your closing rate just by 5%, that can add about 20% to your revenue. So if you go from like a 20% closing rate to 25% closing rate, or 25 to 30%, whatever it may be, just boosting your closing rate by 5% with the process and the software that I've mentioned, that could add 20% revenue right out of the gate for your company. And there's a lot of like small little tweaks that you can do to easily boost this closing rate by 5%, which, we've mentioned a lot of them already today. Client acquisition costs. How much does it cost you to get a client to sign a construction contract? Figuring that number out, we've got calculators and stuff for that. If you want like really dialed in systems, you want someone to set this up for you or guide you like every step of the way. We do coaching, we do consulting. I help my clients set all this stuff up for beautiful systems that they don't have to worry about. They can delegate all that stuff. Reach out to us. You can send a message or put a comment below. I would love to help you with this. But it's a fairly straightforward calculation for the client acquisition cost. You're going to add up everything that it costs on the marketing and sales side of your business. So all the expenses for marketing, for sales, for lead generation. And then you're going to divide that by the number of leads that you get. And that will give you the cost per lead. And then you're also going to take that same number and divide it by the amount of clients that you get. And that's going to be your client acquisition cost. The reason you want to know this is to know, is it going up or down? Am I spending more on marketing and sales to get a client or less? And if I'm spending $1,000 on getting a client or getting, $200 for a good lead to come in, how much can I afford on advertising budget or spend in my Google ads, or hiring a lead gen company or what have you, right? So again, data driven decisions. Sales cycle length is another thing. So how long does it take from new lead to actually getting into a PCSA and ultimately getting into the construction contract? Is it growing or shrinking? Ideally, you want to make that as short as possible, right? New lead comes in and you get them into a PCSA within the shortest amount of time possible. And by having those numbers, you can then start to improve your processes. Average project size is another thing to look at. So what's the average project size? Is it growing, shrinking, staying the same? Of course, typically speaking, the average project size, you want it to go up, generally speaking. If you do, mass volume, you're building, 100, 200 homes a year, then you may be good with your average project size. And it's really about just getting more volume. But ideally, larger projects, better margins and depending, but more revenue, more potential for profit overall with your business. Referrals, reviews, and repeat clients. Another important analytics to know is how many referrals are coming in. Is it more or less? How many reviews are we getting on clients? I have a separate reviews pipeline and a separate referrals pipeline. The reason for this is because referrals are so important that you want to have a separate pipeline for them to make sure they're getting star treatment. The red carpet treatment is what I call it. You need to roll out the red carpet, make sure that they go to the front of the line as far as communication and everything else, because they're the most likely to buy. They're most likely to spend additional money with you if they've been referred. And then as well as repeat clients, right? If you have repeat clients, you're doing amazing work and you want to improve that number. And if there's any friction anywhere in any of the steps with referrals, reviews, the pipeline stages, you want to dive into it. What's causing the friction? Why is this happening? How can we remove this? How can we improve this? All right, kudos to you. You are so far ahead of so many other contractors by building out all these systems and learning all this great stuff that I've showed you today. Now it's time for action. So action, have fun and get it done. We've talked about the sales process. I've talked about the CRM, which one, how to get it, how to use it, the automation, how to set up automations, how to become a pro with the sales analytics. Now you're missing the last two steps here to get the real sales machine in place, and that is to leverage what you have as a brand and then engage your clients into that straightforward closing and getting them into the construction project. So there is two videos. The first one is building a brand, how to improve the branding of your business to leverage that into a high closing ratio. So you're going to want to go watch that video. And then the second video got up on screen here is the engage with straightforward closing, how to close, tips, tricks, and the coach and close method, how to guide your client to a solid close and improve your ratios. I'll see you on the next video.